Melissa Berenson, welcome. We're so happy to have you here presenting for women in the workforce. And we're looking forward to hearing you present tonight on thinking global, acting local, using your platform to impact your community. So welcome. Thank you, Melissa. We're happy to have you.
Well, thank you, Alyssa, for having me. I really appreciate it. And as we discussed a little bit before, you have used your platform to serve your community and make an impact with this Women in the Workforce symposium that you do. And it's incredible. It really has, grown a lot and has made an impact in the community. So I thank you for having me as a speaker. And I just want to let you know, anybody can jump in out of the three of us, and hopefully we'll have an open discussion. But I'll start and I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Melissa Berenson. I have a BA in psychology and a master's in clinical social work.
Yeah.
And a lot of my training basically is looking at the impact of what I would do for clients to impact their lives, their families, their whole system. So I'm kind of trained in that. So it has come naturally to when I no longer do it with individuals in, let's say, a hospital setting, nursing home, or whatnot. I now do it more as a fundraising career and as a consultant. I've helped many people start their businesses. I've consulted with them on their businesses and how to grow and what to do, whether it's non-for-profit, for-profit. I've held dinners for people who want to spread their own message and everything like that. So I went from clinical social worker to full-time mom and doing philanthropy in my kids' schools and their temples in the community. And now that they're older, I actually was working as a fundraiser for a nonprofit organization. That actually my presentation was going to be more on here, but my status has changed with them. I am now back to consultant and sort of my own freelancer now last week. So my presentation is a little different. I actually called Alyssa a little nervous, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And so I reformulated it a little bit to talk more in general versus how that platform sort of impacted the world. So I took it more for all of us to share versus just giving you a message in terms of that particular platform. But I'd like to define what a platform is. So I actually Googled it on the Google platform to look it up in a dictionary, because we don't have dictionaries anymore, right? We Google everything. A platform is a level, usually a raised surface, a raised floor stage for performers or speakers, right? Now we do it a little different. We're using the Zoom platform to have someone speak and to do something versus me having to stand on a stage. So it's kind of interesting how it's all evolved. A platform is also a statement of a belief, what you believe in, where you stand on an issue, personal belief, religious, political, or whatnot. Rules of conduct for which a group stands for. Example, again, political party, Democrats versus Republicans versus Libertarians versus the Green Party, let's say, just as examples. Your operating system on a computer has platforms, Microsoft Word, on a Dell, on a PC, Windows on an Apple, on a Mac computer. Then you have all these different platforms on social media, right? It's all the form of electronic communication. Again, Zoom, WhatsApp, Botim, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, right? All of these. There's probably some that I'm missing. So, and we use all these tools, right? So we can talk more later in the discussion how we might use these tools. But we have our beliefs, our values, our morals, our ethics. They formulate our individual platforms. Everything that we've learned and experienced forms our individual platforms. And you want to sort of look, how does that impact your life? So how do your beliefs impact your life? How does it impact your family? How does it impact your work, your workspace with your colleagues? How does it affect your relationship? How does your platform and beliefs affect your community, or how you participate in your community, or who you'll participate with. Your platform obviously changes over the course of your life based on your experiences, and how you experience life is also based on your beliefs. So everybody can be in the same experience. We can be in the same Zoom room, and how you experience this Zoom meeting will be based on your own personal platforms, your own personal beliefs, ethics, morals, and whatnot. And so you have to take that all into consideration, because who we were at 20 years old is not who we are today in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. And even though we have some of our core values that we were raised with, that our parents taught us, all of that impacts how we think today and to develop our platforms over time. People might believe in something one day, but they experience something different and they believe in it differently the next day. And that's okay. Beliefs and your personal platform should change over time. It's called growth. It's how you grow over time. If you never change and you never change your views, you're not growing. You're not being open-minded. You're not looking at things differently. You're not having healthy relationships. All of these things you need to do. So let's examine how do you think. So examine how you think, right? Examine your beliefs and examine how those beliefs impact your behavior in any particular group setting. How does that impact your behavior? You know, if it's a positive thing or a negative thing, if you're in a meeting and it turns negative, how do your beliefs, how do you then behave? Are you able to control what you're saying, be professional, go on and so forth? You just look at that all and how it goes. So how do we talk about our personal and professional beliefs, about our platform? How do we take that to make an impact in our community? Everybody does something different. For instance, we talked just recently how Alyssa made an impact in her community by creating Women in the Workforce. She just had an idea. She had an idea to have one speaker, and look what it's grown into, a monthly webinar or Zoom meeting, and how incredible that is made, where women can get together and empower each other in our community in a very positive way. But we do make impacts every day without even being aware of it, just by making a choice. Just by making a choice in your coffee makes an impact. And think about that a minute. Anybody want to comment on that in terms of how on earth can just having a cup of coffee impact your local community, well, your home, your local community, and globally? Do you make your coffee at home, right? Or do you go out to buy your coffee? And when you go out to buy your coffee, are you purchasing that coffee at a mom and pop local shop? Or are you going to a chain to buy your coffee? How are you impacting the economy, those different businesses? What are you doing? How are you impacting, frankly, your wallet too, right? In terms of just making home versus going out. Look at the impact when you choose a coffee. Is it organic? Is it sustainable? Is it regular? Does it matter? The seemingly small choice that we make every day to have a cup of coffee not only impacts our local community, it impacts us globally. Just that one cup of coffee. So if you buy it from Starbucks, they have their whole global network. Where are they getting from it? The local mom and pop shop. You're impacting your local community. You're supporting a local business, another local family. But again, the global impact of coffee. If you're getting it sustainable, are you supporting sustainable coffee in terms of proper labor and conditions? Are you buying organic so that people doing the coffee aren't getting poisoned with chemicals? Again, this is not a judgment here. These are just examples. So I want everybody to understand that just that one cup of coffee you're making an impact in how you're making it. And if people were present in that moment and making that, they may make different choices. They may say, forget Starbucks, forget the chain. I'm going to Perk. They're a local family owned and operated. Or they may just say, you know what? I'm happy with Starbucks. I go there. It doesn't matter. You know, the kids still work there. Starbucks gives scholarships for college. They support their workers. They give excellent benefits. So there's pros and cons. So you can be buying that cup of coffee and supporting someone going to college, or a lot of people going to college because Starbucks does that, or a local mom and pop shop. You just don't know. And then you're also impacting those farmers who grow those crops. Okay.
I just want to, you reminded me with this whole coffee thing. I remember years ago, there used to be a commercial about that could make a difference in the life of a child for just the price of a cup of coffee.
Yes.
They went to that too, you know,
Yes.
that just a cup of coffee and make it that tangible, that one little price of a cup of coffee could make a difference in the life of a child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it really does make an impact. Any little choice you make makes an impact. It really does. And that brings me to this saying, and I didn't do that slide, but the world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. So think about that for a moment. What does that mean to anyone here? You know, the world is changed by your example, not by your opinion.
It's like when we say to our kids to do something, and what do they say? They say your kids will do what you do, not what you say.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
You're setting that example so others follow your good habits, your good morals, or your bad choices. It doesn't matter. It's just, that's what I'm saying. You have to think about what you're doing, because just that act of doing something says something. I'll give a quick example comes to my mind. There was a book called Make Your Bed. And it's
yes, that was that speech from that colonel.
Navy guy, right?
Right. He was an admiral. He was a Navy SEAL. He was an admiral, and he wrote the book. And it was his commencement speech that he did at a university. I read the book.
I did too.
Okay? I thought it was a great book. I think he made a good impact. I make my bed every morning.
Me too.
Because of the book?
Me too.
And I don't.
Well, I did it before, but this gave it more meaning to me. Before it was just, because, you know, it just gave it more meaning. But
I
then,
agree with you 100%. I feel the exact same way.
right. I then took that book and I had my children read it. And they make their beds in the morning, not because I say so, and not even because he said so, because I set the example. And then they see when they come home at the end of the day, their beds are made. It's nice. I have neighbors coming saying, well, what are the kids' bed made? My kids make it every day. Not pretty, but like, I wish I could get my kids to do that. Well, do you make your bed every day? Your children are going to do what you do. They're going to smoke or not smoke if you smoke. They're going to drink or not drink if you drink. They're going to do drugs or not do drugs if you do, right? All of these things. You want to be that change and make it better. My father always used to say, I want my children to grow up and be better and have better than I did when I was a kid. But we can't do that unless we set the example for them to do. And again, that's an everyday impact we make. And then what the choices our children make when they go out into the world, into the now global world. I mean, it's different. They're now online, they're on everything here. So I really like to look at that. And one of the most famous opinions, quotes, platform was by Gandhi. Be the change you wish to see in the world, right? That was his platform. Now, Gandhi, when he took his local problem, and people don't understand sometimes where his local problem started. His local problem didn't start in India. His local problem started with discrimination against Indians in South Africa. He had a first-class train ticket. Even though he had that ticket, because he wasn't white, he still had to go back and sit in third class. So he fought for the rights of Indians in terms of their status in South Africa. That's where it all started for him and what happened there. We won't get into that he really didn't fight for the rights of Black South Africans, but he fought for the rights of Indians in South Africa and how you were treated. Again, he thought it was a socioeconomic thing and it shouldn't matter the color of your skin or whatever, at least for him. So again, we're not perfect, but he took that and we see now where it has grown. Even when he went back to India and then fought for local rights there for Indians under the British Empire and rule. He wasn't trying to really be a hero, right? He was just trying to make things better for himself, his community, and his people. And look at what ended up happening. He got the British Empire out of India and also, I believe, Pakistan at the same time, and they both declared their independence within a few days of each other. And you had two separate countries at that time, and what happened? Then you have somebody like Rosa Parks. Her act of sitting in the front of the bus, and mind you, it's my understanding she didn't sit in the front of the bus to protest, she was just tired. And she sat there. She made that choice to sit in the front of the bus. And that small impact of what she did for herself, what it has now created for our society in terms of equal rights, in terms of fighting against racism and discrimination, and how we still struggle and do that on a daily basis. It's just incredible where one act creates this global impact and where we're going. Even just here in the United States, that act, what it has done, what it turned people here into doing, remember with apartheid in South Africa? All our musicians here don't play Sun City. And what they did to help destroy apartheid, right? With those music videos and their platform and everything they did, they wrote a song about South Africa and the impact that it had there globally because of our changes here. So and that was one of my little screens. So here, I'll share my screen a minute and show you that. So that was just share. So there you go. Be the change you wish to see in the world, because it makes a big difference. That thing you do, holding a door for someone, helping someone up, just being kind, right? And here it is too. I'll probably show it to you again. In a world where you can be anything, just be kind. That makes a big impact in our local communities, right? I'm going to go back to this one just for a minute. Because being the change you wish to see in the world, there are many people who did that, and I have some examples. And please feel free to chime in if you think of an example that you want to give. There are so many individuals or organizations that made the impact. You had John Lennon through music, how he globally changed and worked for peace through his music and love. He was an incredible musician, gone too soon. And that person whose beliefs or whatever they were changed the world when they assassinated John Lennon as well. Think about that global impact and what happened there. I mean, John Lennon himself, and then when he was assassinated, that one act somebody did. Then you have Tipper.
This is the butterfly effect. Essentially, exactly. Every little action affects and impacts everything else. The butterfly effect.
Exactly. And it can, even from your little community, then to globally, these have big impacts. You had Tipper Gore. Everybody remember what Tipper Gore did? Tipper Gore was appalled at some musicians and their explicit lyrics in music. So she took on Congress. She took on to change the laws to have ratings for music albums. And I remember Twisted Sister and all these people didn't want it. They didn't want it because, you know, what are you going to do? Parents are then not going to let their kids buy these albums, right? There was pros and there was cons from either side. And now we have music that in some countries is banned based on the ratings. Most people actually want to buy the ones that say explicit language because it's cool. What kid doesn't want to, right? I think those ratings actually had the opposite effect that Tipper Gore wanted. I think it actually accelerated explicit language music, because what kid didn't want to buy, you know, a record with swear words in it, right? They made it taboo, so it actually made music change in terms of what was acceptable, what people craved and wanted. It really, I think it had a global impact. We had some recent things. You had Colin Kaepernick. Look at what he did. And again, no judgments about anything. Look at what he did just by taking a knee for his platform, for what his belief was and what he thought, and how that impacted the world. How that impacted the world. Because that also grew into, again, with George Floyd and the BLM movement, and how that's impacted the world. The BLM movement has gone global. It has gone global again in parts of Africa, the UK, and people even associate the Black Lives Matter and apartheid with the whole Israel-Palestinian issue. Not that we have to get into it, I'm just saying what the impact has been and how it brings all of the stuff back into conversation and what we're doing and how everything has been. It's really incredible that one action, again, the butterfly effect, creates this whole range from here in the United States to the other side of the world. It's incredible. Of course, it also helps that we have social media platforms to help spread that, right? Because when Gandhi was doing it, he had his social media of the time, which was newspapers, right? But it took a lot longer for things to happen. Things happen overnight. There, it took a lot longer for that stuff to happen. Then again, you have people like Ben and Jerry. Again, their beliefs, their platform, they use their platform of their business of Ben and Jerry's to make a statement, again, on the other side of the world in terms of wanting to have a boycott in West Bank or Judea and Samir, however you want to call it. And that had a global impact and an economic impact on Unilever as well, in terms of people boycotting Ben and Jerry's and Unilever, and then what eventually happened and came out of that. And we're still talking about it, and there's still lawsuits about it. So it's very interesting just what they did in terms of the choice they made not to sell their ice cream in a particular area in Israel, right? Just in one particular, not all Israel, just a particular Israel, and the global effect it had on discussions and where it has all gone. It became very interesting. We also had another human being, and thanks to him, I am here on Zoom with you. I have an Apple computer. I have an Apple phone. Well, here it is. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs worked in his garage to create a music device. I don't know if he envisioned all of this, but he saw what a Walkman was, where you put a cassette in to play it and you're walking down the street. You remember our Walkmans? And they were kind of big, right? He wanted to create a device that was like yay big, right? To hold libraries of music, to store libraries and libraries of music. So you just had a little gadget. Look at the impact Steve Jobs, out of his garage, has had on the global market, has had on technology, has had on how we communicate, how we do presentations. He then also did, when he left Apple, he then went to and created Pixar. Look how he changed animation in movies with Pixar, Disney. He started Pixar, not Disney. Disney, that's a whole nother issue. You can even say Walt Disney. Look at the impact he made on the world by creating a cartoon character named Mickey Mouse. And look at that global phenomenon. All these people were local people like you and I. Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook just to hang out and talk with buddies that were alumni from the school. It was supposed to be sort of like an alumni thing. He met, I believe, with Bill Gates, and voila, we have Facebook, a global global platform to meet people, to friend people, to share ideas, to share concepts, and how that grew. Again, he was just sitting in his dorm room like I'm sitting here in my office. He came up with a concept and what it grew into. Every little thing you do impacts local business, impacts the world. Google as well. All of these people that created all of these, they now have a global impact with the economy, with employing people. Jeff Bezos, he just wanted to sell books online. Remember when he was just an online bookstore? And now look at him. He's one of the it's one of the wealthiest companies in the world in terms of moving product and selling product, even for mom and pop shops who would only be able to sell locally, can now sell globally. I can have a local little store and somebody can look up something and I'm selling it and they may buy it from my store and I may have to ship it back to China, right? That was a joke, it is. I have to ship it back to China. So it's really cool how they were just normal people. They still are, in my opinion. But that one move they made, that one thing impacted them as individuals, impacted their families, first impacted their local community, now they're global impacts. And I'm going to share with you a slide here, okay? This person, Howard Minsky. Howard Minsky, I met on Facebook when I was sharing my beliefs and platform of what I personally believe in, then what I was also able to do for a living for a period of time. This man does books, makes books for on animals, but what he does is he takes children or children with disabilities or different schools, and he allows these children to make their books, and then he helps them to publish their books. And not only does he do that, so this young man, Daniel Williams, wrote this book called Wild Animals Like to Dance. This young man is now an author, and his book will be sold to benefit Best Buddies, and we'll talk about Best Buddies as well. So Howard decided he's going to help children make books. They're natural storytellers, right? And he's going to help them to do this. He's helped a lot of different kids write books, kids with disabilities, kids without disabilities, and he's having this book signing. But he's making an impact, believe it or not, locally, personally, locally, and also globally. Best Buddies, okay, most people don't know what Best Buddies is. Eunice Shriver, Maria and Anthony Shriver's mother, also sister of the Kennedys, right? She started the Special Olympics, but she started the Special Olympics, not necessarily the Special Olympics. Her sister had like autism or on the spectrum or whatever. She then cared for in her own home, in her own backyard. She started summer camps for kids with developmentally delayed disabilities in her own home. That grew into Special Olympics. Her son, Anthony Shriver, right? He was at, I believe, Georgetown University, and he started Best Buddies so that he could get kids to sort of like be big brother, big sister to kids with developmental disabilities. Yeah. He did that in a local level in college. Guess where Best Buddies is now? All over the world. Best Buddies is all over the world. It has chapters in, I don't want to say every high school, but just here in Jupiter, he's at Dwyer, he's at Jupiter High School, Dwyer High School, everything in these chapters. They have chapters in every state, high schools, and globally. Just from somebody caring about a family member with developmentally disabled, they created now this global platform to help children and adults around the world with developmental disabilities. Just from their own family, they started this. So again, Howard, just like you and me, Anthony Shriver, basically like us, right? He did this in school. Mark Zuckerberg, everybody, we can do this through art, through whatever we want to do. Now, how our personal platform is and our ideas and what we do, and then how we put them on electronic platforms to spread the word is a little different. And we can talk about that after. But Howard is doing a great thing. And so he's hooked up to them, which is great. So again, look at the actions that the impact, that these people have had. I'll give some other examples. I don't have a flyer for that one here, so I am just going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. And on here, we will talk about, what other effects of everyday things happen to impact global economies and whatnot. Who here recycles?
Sure.
Okay. Now, there was a time I remember as children, you didn't have recycling, except if you belonged to a church or an organization where you collected newspapers, you collected aluminum cans and soda bottles and everything. And you took them back to, I remember as a kid, to your church. And then they would turn it in to a facility that recycled, and they would get money from it. Excellent idea. I keep telling people at my children's schools and different organizations, you want a no-cost fundraiser for parents and kids, collect aluminum cans. You can still do it. You can still cash it in for money. The library can do it. You just have to have a recycling can with the cans there, and then you take it.
I want to address recycling because I feel like it's such a loaded thing. A lot of municipalities no longer can really afford and sustain the recycling, in other words, from what I'm hearing, you may have a recycling bin and you may personally be thinking that you are impacting the local and global community by recycling. But I hate to say this, I think a lot of municipalities are dumping it all together because the cost of running recycling programs I think is becoming prohibitive. It costs a lot of money to separate. People aren't rinsing things out and separating properly. I mean, you throw your tissue box, for example, that has plastic attached to it into the bin for cardboard, and they still have to then pull all of that apart and figure out the plastic pieces that have to be separated from the cardboard. So from what I'm hearing, it's not worth it. We have recycling bins. I probably shouldn't say this if I'm going to be sending this out, to all these people, but we have recycling bins here at the library and we don't really recycle. We don't.
You may want to edit that out. I don't know. But again, the act of me doing it, I do know that they still do aluminum. So if I have aluminum cans, I do that. They do that. There are plastics that don't. But again, people are changing their worldview. So let's say you're right. We're doing this and people are still throwing it out. There are people coming up globally with initiatives to take that unused plastic and to do different things with it. Even when it goes into the ocean, there have been Four Oceans and another organization. They collect all this ocean trash and they make
bracelets. Yeah, they make
bracelets. But there's other organizations that take that recycled plastic, and they're making affordable desks and chairs for schools around the world. And different things in different countries, like in India and certain countries in Africa and stuff. So it's not all a waste. Some municipalities won't, like I know New Orleans doesn't, but and some people don't. But you can then do that to still raise money. If you want to collect aluminum, they may not recycle paper or plastic anymore, but the metals, they're still recycling the aluminum and everything. And that created a global economy. And where all the recycling actually started from? Unfortunately, war efforts. Remember? I wasn't alive to see, but people they recycled rubber, they recycled paper, they recycled all for the war effort. And it went into all these things and wasting. But waste management actually has become a huge global business in terms of trading these commodities and what they do in terms of waste management. China buys, when you go and give a car to a junkyard and stuff like, China buys scrap, all this scrap metal. It's
I don't know.
amazing.
I remember, Melissa, a few years ago, there was a barge that couldn't find a home that
In
was
New York.
filled with trash.
Right, in New York.
Okay, no one wanted to buy New York's garbage, if I remember.
No, I
correctly.
know. But believe it or not, China buys tons and tons of our waste. And there are companies now that I've sort of met through the grapevine when I've met other people in South America and certain places where you have big garbage heaps and they don't have waste management the same way I do. They're taking that waste to create energy and power plants in a very unique way. So there are innovations and everything coming from it, but it all started with recycling. Where it's going to go, I don't know. But either way, just throwing out your garbage or your recycling has a global impact on our oceans, on our environment, right?
Absolutely.
On our economies, because there was a time you collected that stuff, you took it to your church and they would cash it in for money. Now you have to pay somebody to pick it up for you. Then they sort it or don't sort it or do what they want. And then they sell it and make money on it. They make money on both sides. They're just the middlemen. They're our waste management company. Think about it. This is popping my head. They're brokers of trash.
But, taking this all back to your cup of coffee, tying garbage back to your cup of coffee, I have to be very honest. One of my biggest pet peeves is those Keurig cups. I mean, those Keurig cups are such a waste. Talk about if you're trying to send an environmentally conscious message. I mean, what a waste, those tiny little plastic Keurig cups. And for a while, that was the thing. Everybody had to have their Keurig coffee maker and buy all these Keurig coffee cups. And then what about you have to walk the walk if you talk the talk, right? There's a lot of waste throwing out all those Keurig cups, a lot of garbage being made from coffee there.
Hey, even Starbucks. I shop at both Starbucks and local coffee shops. I do both. Starbucks is right here next to me. My favorite coffee perk is in Tequesta, so it takes me gas to get there. So it's, do I walk? Do I drive? But Starbucks takes all its coffee grounds and bags them for you to take home for your garden as well.
Oh, wow.
I can walk into Starbucks and get all these coffee grounds and then shove them in my garden, which is like really cool, and don't have to use K-cups. I gave up K-cups because not only was it not environmentally friendly, it wasn't economically, what's the word I'm thinking? It wasn't a good choice economically. It was more expensive per K-cup, a cup of coffee, than buying regular grounds for my coffee maker, But now I'm a little lazy. I go out for coffee because sometimes it's just me. I'm not making a whole pot. So, and I don't want to buy K-cups again. So yeah, I don't do that. Hey, I remember
Starbucks is not inexpensive.
Garbage thing together.
Right. Hey, my grandmother used to use a tea bag more than once.
Sure.
Right?
They work for tired eyes too.
Right.
And me,
right. And me, I put 2 tea bags in 1 cup. And I don't reuse it. It's like,
adult.
So again, just think how just this conversation of trash and how we choose to throw our trash, the global impact on the environment. It's incredible. Just that, whether you believe in global warming or not, or whatever, like people say, oh, Melissa, would you become a tree hugger? It's not that I'm a tree hugger. I just want to drink clean water and breathe fresh air. And I don't think that's too much to ask, right? It's just whatever. If we all do our part locally by using plastic bags or not using plastic bags, using reusable in the grocery store or whatever, those plastic bags aren't in the ocean, then, killing turtles or whatever else it's doing, or those things you pull apart, for your drinks, if you're not using them and don't buy them. Every little thing we do impacts our coffee, our trash, what we buy, what we do, how we dispose of it. It's incredible how something that gets in the ocean here could end up on the other side of the world, or in that great garbage patch in whatever stream that is. It's incredible.
And as you mentioned social media before, everybody's watching you, not just your kids. I
Right.
mean, we're all posting videos of what our neighbors are doing, what our teachers are doing, what everybody's doing. So your actions are being recorded as we speak. Literally,
They are.
guys, they are.
They really are, and today they are. So we always hope that whatever we choose to do, how we set the example, what our beliefs are, we're always hoping we're being positive, right? Now, and everybody's idea of what is right and wrong or positive or negative is different. So we also have to respect that, as long as nobody's getting harmed, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So we always have to respect that, you know, in terms of our opinions may differ. I may recycle, you may not. You know, I may go out to Starbucks, you may get for local, somebody may go home, but it's all okay. How do we bring that together and have this discussion and say, look, really, how does this impact us, right? So now that we've examined history and we can see how a local problem is addressed can affect the global economy, I just wish I had more solutions. Sometimes you can see the problem, but you know, how do you have the solution? So as we were just discussing, a simple clean glass of water is really not simple, is it?
Yeah.
Pouring a glass of clean water is really not simple. How many people don't have clean drinking water, right? Based on the coffee we choose, because coffee, right? We go back to that, pesticides used in the runoff from farmland, right? Goes into natural water supply. You look at all this stuff. So anything that happens. So again, how do your actions contribute to make it better? What do you want to do? You know, again, is organic coffee better than traditional coffee? Is buying coffee, you know, where you buy coffee, does it matter? So you kind of have to think about that. And I'll tell you another company that took something, again, they're just average Joes, and they took the problem of, years ago, I was in New Orleans, where they don't recycle, they don't clean. It's just kind of like, you know, you go down the Mississippi, you're on the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River empties out into the Gulf and to the ocean. You should see the garbage that comes down the Mississippi River when you're sitting there and you're on a paddle boat ride. It's not a pretty thing. It's not like you're, you know, here on our intercoastal and you're seeing sea turtles and everything. Literally, you're seeing trash coming down the Mississippi River. And that started all the way in the north. So what did we end up doing because we poisoned our water systems and didn't have clean drinking water? What was born out of this? And I bought it when I was in New Orleans, and I told my then husband, I said, we should invest in this. Bottled water. Right? Bottled water, because of the water quality in the world, became a global phenomenon. When I travel overseas, I don't drink local water. I drink bottled water, right? Because I don't want
more plastic. I'm
Again,
more garbage.
But again, that action, what is that impact and what happens? And we know plastic really can't recycle back into plastic. Aluminum can recycle, an aluminum can recycle again into aluminum. But plastic can't necessarily be, again, that same plastic bottle. It's interesting, it changes form. They also make clothes and stuff out of plastic now too. That's why you feel a lot of the clothes and stuff, the quality isn't the same, but they make fibers out of plastic now to make clothes. Again, an interesting concept. Okay, but for purified water, I'm going to tell you, there's a company called WaterGen. Okay, WaterGen is actually, again, you'll see a little bit of my bias here, as an Israeli company. I had one of these in my home years ago. I wanted to keep it and get in the business because I thought it was phenomenal. They've taken the concept of bottled water and non-clean potable water in certain places, even in very remote places in India, on Indian reservations, anywhere you can go. They created a water machine that takes the air and humidity, purifies it, and makes clean drinking water without plastics. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure some people use plastic bottles to fill them or whatever, because that may be all they have. But they took this technology that they created And now it's all over the world, and WaterGen is taking this to all over the world. They've even put WaterGen machines on, I don't know which ones, but Native American lands here that don't have access to water or plumbing, just so people can have clean drinking water. And they're big trucks. You can have a water-sized cooler in your home with this. Now, it does use electricity or whatever. Again, I don't know how the big trucks use it or how it does it when you put it on the street, depending on where it is. But they're giving people clean drinking water from the air. So even if the air may not be all that great, it comes in, it's filtered, it's sort of treated, I guess, UV or whatever, and it comes out as clean drinking water. It's amazing. Just somebody invented that out of necessity.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right. And when you're in certain areas and you need something like that, you create it. And that's what they did. And it's become their local need for water. And parts of Israel created this invention, which they now share globally, and have created this global market and this way to reach out to people to get them potable drinking water in India and parts in Africa and here in the United States on our Native American lands. I just think it's incredible. So just think, anything we do, we have the possibility to impact our local communities as well as it going global. You just never know, basically, right? Okay, so we sort of talked about some of these great things that people created to do just in the garages or just out of necessity or just because you need your caffeine fix or whatever, and how that really affects our global economy. So now let's look at how just the term platform has evolved from what it used to be to the global stage, right? We used to actually get on what we called a soapbox, a literal soapbox. People would stand up on a soapbox to speak, right? And get up on that soapbox and say, vote for me, or, women need the right to vote, or whatever it was a literal soapbox. Now look at where we are. We can go and air this on Facebook. We can make a tweet. We can put this on YouTube, and the whole world can see it overnight. It's incredible.
Only the people who registered are getting this video.
Well, that's okay, but those people who registered who get the video, they may say, wow, this was fantastic. I'm going to share it. You never know who's going to upload what. Nothing you do anymore is private. Nothing is private anymore. So you can see how everything has changed almost to a global platform. So just this conversation could end up being seen by somebody across the world. Don't think I won't share it, because I will. I will share it. So now, how can you use your platforms to share your beliefs, to achieve your goals? And how can you act locally while thinking globally? Think about that. How would you use your platform as an individual? You're using this platform right now, as we said before, to empower women, to network with women, to teach women. And I'm assuming that it's not exclusionary to just women. Men can come and join this too, because quite frankly, men have a lot to learn from women, right? And we have a lot to learn from men. And how do we do that together? And how do we go forward? And how do we do that? So your platform and what you're doing and your idea can continue to grow past where it is now and where you want to go. So, think about it. Carol, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, think about your art and the art project you were telling us and what you do now. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and what you're going to do locally so people kind of understand and what that impact will be on our community?
Well, it's shown so many studies that art is critical for mental health, for learning, for people in every society need art. I mean, from Africa to all over the world, art is a universal need, really, for well of society. So locally, Artists of County is a group of artists who exhibit, and we also have community outreach and to inspire people, to have them show their work, to provide it through community groups and other organizations also. So we're trying.
What's the name of your group again?
Artists of Palm Beach County.
Artists of Palm Beach County.
Correct. It's
And
a 501.
is this part of your library work as well, or no?
No, no. This is just, it's a charitable organization, and I'm trying to get them to work with other groups that I'm working with, Mandel Library. Craig Glover, do you know him? He's a group that we work with in Rise, North End Rise.
Mhm.
So that's what we're trying to do. Reach children. We work with Town of Lake Park to have a children's exhibition for their centennial. So we're doing all of those things, but we're actually, two of our members are working with us to write a strategic plan for the next 3 years. So this is a big change for us to actually have specific attainable goals and things. So we're trying to get our gallery. Right, and in the interim, I am trying to get enough funds so that we can exhibit in a very nice place. Been exhibiting in not so great places, but this gallery, that new studio in Tequesta, it's actually in Jupiter, it's on the border of Tequesta, is just a beautiful gallery. It's classy, and I'm hoping it will even attract more people. You know, before the pandemic, we had over 100 members. We have 73 right now, which is really pretty good, because a lot of groups have either gone bankrupt or lost most of their members. So we're continuing, and it's important to me to have at least 4 or 5 exhibits a year, and that's what I'm trying to do to keep us going and getting more members until we get a gallery as a permanent.
So these are local artists that you're promoting?
Actually, we just changed our bylaws. It was limited to artists in Palm Beach County. And now we've gone, I don't want to say global, but international or national anyway. And we can include anyone who would support the organization's goals. So we have members now in Atlanta and New York, you know, friends, relatives. Yeah. So we did change those bylaws, and that's what we're trying to do now. So that's my fundraising effort, that this gallery has donated space to us and really given us many opportunities. And so I feel that it's fair for us to pay them. You know, they pay rent and electricity and all those expenses too. So I think it's time for us to pay our fair share.
So one art sends a message, right? Art, anytime someone creates artwork, there's a message and a meaning into that. You know, if you're doing a theme and then you're supporting other non-for-profits in your area, you were local to just Palm Beach County, now it's national. I mean, so it's growing, and then that art will impact other people, and then your programs and your mission, in terms of, like you said, mental health and whatnot. So, I mean, it's fantastic. What started here in Palm Beach Gardens or Jupiter, Florida, is now grown to a national platform, right? And at some time, you know, that impact, you can then take that art. Let's say, you know, you want to do a special exhibit and support something, let's say in Haiti, artists in Haiti, or artists in Cuba, or artists somewhere else. You can.
We do work with the African orphan organization who works in Africa, and we worked with them. They published a coloring book, and some of our artists, we tried to spread the word in all the libraries to help them do that. So we are working in Africa. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Did you work with Michelle Drummond?
With Kathy.
Michelle Drummond's the one who designed the metamorphosis tree down in the lobby of the library.
No, I don't know her. I just saw that. Actually, I saw that yesterday. I love the library, and I use all their programs. So that yesterday they had a senior technology help program. So I was there yesterday and tonight. So I love the library, always have. And, you know,
Well, and do you know what non-fungible tokens are?
yeah, kind of, sort of, yes.
So people now who create art can create a digital image of that art, and it can be sold and sent all around the world and permanently on other platforms. I mean, it's really interesting how even art has changed.
Yes.
From
Wait a minute, a digital token, you take a picture of your art and you sell it online. I mean, isn't that, what's a token versus just uploading a picture?
I don't know. I think it's something that maybe can't be copied as well. Like it's the original. Again, you know, you can't make copies or something like that. I don't understand it all.
Yeah,
But,
I think there's an organization that controls that.
right.
So they
Kind of
collect-
like a Bitcoin thing, kind of like
Right.
cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin.
Right.
Right. Again, you know. This
But it's a tremendous movement. I mean, it's incredible. So
Yeah,
you could a piece of a very famous art piece, you know,
Right.
one billionth of a square or something.
Right. You know, let's say they needed to raise money for the Louvre. They could create non-fungible tokens of the Mona Lisa and everybody gets a piece and pays for that piece. You know what I mean?
I own a square in Ireland. I'm a
Do you?
lady.
There you go.
See
I
that?
don't think that it had anything to do with a fundraiser of
I know.
a charitable cause. I just got a proclamation certificate.
Oh, see?
Yeah. See,
It's like selling a star. Who owns the star? Is that they're selling a star, you know?
right.
I bought one of those stars. You buy the book with the location of the star.
Right.
Anyway.
I mean, it's incredible how all of this works. So your organization is taking art and has actually made a global impact and is making a global impact. And how incredible that is. It really makes a difference where you can go. So I'm going to share, because this is one of my, I think I showed it to you already, but I'm going to show it again.
It's nice that you bring that to my attention. So sometimes you just do stuff you're not sure.
In a world where you can be anything, be kind, right? That's like one of my major platforms.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where I am, what I'm doing, I try and be kind. Doesn't mean I don't stand up for myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I am definitely proactively kind, right?
Yeah, I often say that don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Correct. Don't explain.
Like
Right.
people tell me I'm sweet. It makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm sweet. Say anything else. I'm smart but I think they do mistake kindness for weakness. And I think
Well, people actually do. And sometimes, you know, that lesson is learned the hard way, but so be it. Again, that experience will then change their beliefs and how they do things. And, you know, I may be the catalyst and the change to help someone else change their world, right? You know, with either my kindness or with standing up for myself. So it makes a big deal. But when we were talking about that, I say this because, as we said earlier, everything is recorded, everything you do.
right.
If I run for political office someday, I'm not planning on it by any means, somebody might find this video and find something good I said in it or an offense to it or something like that. This is now going to be out in the virtual world forever. Even if you're only sending it to the people who registered, it's out there somewhere, somehow, someone will find it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to say is, remember that term, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Not anymore.
Right.
What happens in Vegas now gets posted on a global platform. So you really need to, again, look at your actions, right? It's that change doesn't come, it comes from your actions, not from your opinion. Again, you're going back to that thing in terms of, you know, what you're doing sets the example, not your opinion. So I always try and tell people, when you're on social media and you want to affect change, be kind, be thoughtful. We don't have to be negative. We don't have to do negative tweets. I know that stuff sells, and I know the algorithms and everything attach onto that to do, but it just makes us all crabby, right? And makes us not like each other. Let's be kind to each other. Let's do good things in the world. Let's take responsibility and be that example we want to see in a world. Let's set the example for others to follow. Let's be kind when we post our beliefs, our platform on social media platforms, because it really can go viral, good or bad, right? And social media platforms are all global, all of them. TikTok, Twitter, everything. They're all. And then, another thing you have to look at too is, I don't know if I want to, because I know we have about 20 minutes. I don't know. You know what? I think I'm gonna. Your platform, beliefs, opinions, behavior can now can cause a lot of problems for you, right? So you just want to be careful about how you talk about that stuff online and anything you do, which brings us to politics, but I'm not going to get political. I'm so apolitical. I'm not going to make this any political issues or stances here by any means. One of the things we can do with our platforms, and I'm going to share this slide with you. Your vote is your voice. This is one of the topics that Alyssa and I first talked about with doing for this segment, because the midterm elections are coming up. Not because that they're midterm and our nation has, is polarized or whatnot. I don't care how anybody votes. I just think it's important to vote, because your vote is your voice. How you vote matters. Your vote counts. Okay. And again, if you look, to me, voting is a right and a privilege. Not everybody around the world has a right to vote in their own country. Some countries, you're required to vote, believe it or not. If you don't vote, you'll get fined. Our country, we have the right and the privilege to vote, especially women. There was a time we could not vote. We were not seen as smart enough to vote or politically savvy enough or whatever. We fought for our right to vote. So to me, to be a woman and not to vote, you're throwing your voice away. Our mothers, grandma fought for our right to have a say in what happens in our daily lives. So for women not to vote, no matter your socioeconomic status, no matter your color, your ethnicity, whatever, it is our voice. And it is an impactful voice. And again, I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care how you vote. None of my business. But vote. It is your voice. It is, believe it or not, how you vote, especially in your local elections, not only impacts your daily life, it makes an impact globally. People don't realize, every 4 years we have a presidential election. Most people vote every 4 years, and only every 4 years. They don't look at the midterm elections, nor do they look at their local elections for their local mayors, their school boards, their judges. Mm-hmm. How you vote locally really impacts globally. Voting for our local judges makes an impact, because they make local judgments on cases that have global impact, because they set precedents. Then these judges move up the ranks. We elect them. Then at some point they go to different courts. They're appointed all the way up to the Supreme Court. You never know who you support now and what judge you vote now may make it up to the Supreme Court someday, or what they ruled on in a case, how that will affect, like all these cases that you see that start off as a local complaint, like the gay married couple who wanted a wedding cake, and the company that didn't want to make it for them, that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And it went through all these different local judges, all these different courts, all the way up to the Supreme Court. So how you vote just on a local judge matters. How you vote on your city council members matters. city council members, okay, usually in your local communities, they are developers. People don't realize that a lot of our community in Jupiter and County are people who support development. Maybe not necessarily the environment or whatnot. Look at that. If you want to support development, or you want to support a park staying a park, or certain lands being wild, you have to know who you're voting for. How you vote locally impacts your local community, for your parks, your playgrounds, your libraries.
Yeah. We had a big campaign. We had a big campaign, the Friends of the Library,
Right.
when they were going to our budget dramatically, and there was quite an uproar. I think it was one of the biggest protests the city government saw. We had hundreds of people involved in that. So
Exactly. So that makes a difference
Yeah.
and an impact. And imagine if you couldn't get the funding for the library, and what kind of impact that would have on the community.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have this program,
Right.
right?
You want to make an impact on your local community and your community at large, you're absolutely right. The library provides countless programs, social services, educational programming, job training, and I mean, I have a job fair coming up in another 10 days. We offer so many programs for food for children during the summer, just endless things.
Talk about the job fair.
Entrepreneurs, everybody, you know, benefits from the library.
And the
That's a my
library-
plug.
Right. And the Mandel Library has to be, I always say it has to be the best in the world. I mean, country, world, anything you want. I mean, the programs are incredible, just incredible.
We do offer quite the array of programming. I've not seen a county library that offers as much as we do. Maybe throughout the county, but no one library offers everything that we do.
And then the Mandel, is that the same as Mandel JCC and everything, the same family?
Mhm.
It may be,
Yeah,
it
it
may,
is.
I think it is. I
So
think it
look-
is, yeah.
Look at the choice that family
That
made of
family,
where to
yeah.
donate their money. They set the example for other philanthropists to follow in terms of making their community better with the JCCs, the library, and everything else they do. I mean, even in philanthropy. But yes, again, voting is very, very important. So I encourage
You've made a very good point, though, with voting, that, you know, and I think it's one of the main reasons why people don't vote in the midterm elections. They have no idea what the platforms are of the judges, city councilmen, and women, and mayors, and, you know, the people that really are going to impact their lives, our lives, are actually the people we know the least about. We don't know their platforms, and we take very little time to learn their platforms. And
that's also because they don't have the budgets to share their platforms.
it's true.
Right. So it does. It absolutely makes a difference. Not just your mayors and everything, your state legislatures.
Mhm.
We have big state elections coming up too. Who's going to be our state legislative representatives? Who's going to be our next governor? How is that going to impact us? Because what people don't realize, federal and state governments,
Mhm.
they work together, but they're kind of separate. States have their own rights.
Mhm.
State governments and local governments, they can make economic agreements with other countries and other cities around the globe, and how that impacts, just think about how that impacts Florida for businesses. What foreign businesses do they come here and do business in Florida?
Mhm.
That's an excellent question. What businesses does Florida? What countries do we have relationships with? I don't even know.
Well, I just know one because of my platform, which is obviously Israel, because everybody can look at my Facebook page. That's all, you know, I talk about in terms of supporting Israel and anti-Semitism. We have a great relationship with Israel in the state of Florida, right? State of Florida, El Al Airlines is now a major hub in Miami versus being up in New York. You no longer have to fly to New York to go to Israel, right? You have a lot of Israeli companies that are actually here in the state of Florida, that do business here and create money for our economy. I just know that. I don't know all of them, but we do, and they do research here. I do know that Governor DeSantis also had all the Florida state universities and colleges. They had to sort of create, their own platforms in terms of what distincts them from, like, how is University of Tampa different from University of Florida? What do they have that's significant, and help them develop? And then they help these universities. They have all foreign relations and lobby groups to then build relationships with other universities abroad.
It's so interesting. You vote for your governor or your president based on, maybe one or two issues that you've heard them vocalize about, but you don't know all the other issues and where they stand. And, no one person's all good or bad. It's complicated.
You don't understand your platform. And I will tell you, and this is my opinion, our government is supposed to represent the people that elect them and then do what we ask them to do, regardless of their own personal beliefs at times, right? That's what they're supposed to do. So it would be great to find more candidates like that. So when you go and you protest and you speak out for the library or whatever, your elected officials will then do what their constituents want them to do. It now seems that it's changed a little bit to where they tell us what they're going to do, and then we vote for them if we agree with them or not. They're no longer doing what we want. They're saying what they're gonna do, and we just have to decide if we agree with them or not. I would personally like to see again that if I vote somebody who is not putting their platform and values on me, that they will listen to me as their constituent and the group of constituents and how it affects us. So again, how we set that example and how we move forward impacts us locally in terms of our water, in terms of our utility bills, in terms of what we pay in property tax, in terms of whatever we do. And then it goes on up to the state level. And then it also goes to, national level. And then all that relates globally into our global relationships. Just how we vote.
That for the first time, for the first time, I paid very careful attention to the school board elections. In the past, I don't know, I just was not that involved, but now that seems to me the most critical thing. They're banning books. You need. We looked at the League of Women Voters, and they give a statement. They ask candidates questions, and I rely on that as an impartial place to look for things. But the school board elections are critical, and people know who anybody is on the school board.
Right. And that vote and that choice you make on who to put on the school board impacts, at least for me, I have school-age children.
Right.
And how that affects them, what they learn and experience. How does the school board's values change the values I'm teaching my children and want them to have? Exactly. So again, no judgment here. It's everybody needs to speak up for what they want. And then through voting, we can then have what we want. We get the government we deserve, when you vote. So you have to think about that. If you're in a small town and you want to keep it small and you don't want major construction, then you need to be very active in how you vote and how you want your town to be. You want your children to be able to read certain books in their school or not have things banned? Vote, look and see what the issues are and where these people side with. We don't have to get into all the topics because again, it doesn't matter where you fall, but it matters if you make your voice and your vote count by going and voting and really, really learning and listening. And that is so impactful. People don't even realize it. Voting is as impactful as that cup of coffee you choose to have in the morning.
Hopefully more.
Tying it back to the beginning, because we only have a few minutes left.
Right, it's all the same. I have more here, but I won't go into it because I was actually going to also, if we had time, talk about actual platforms and how to build your message on a platform and what to do. Maybe we can do that another time, or I'm happy to do that with individuals if they want to get a hold of me. I'm happy to do all that. But it all comes back. It's all a big circle. Any action that you do makes an impact, locally and globally. And I hope everybody was able to see that with this with the presentation, and I hope everybody goes and votes as well. So because it makes a big difference. So I will end it there and say thank you for having me.
Can I give
Thank
a plug?
you so much.
I do one more thing, as long as we're impacting everyone and sending this out. Artists of Palm Beach County is artistsofpalmbeachcounty.org. If you're an artist, or if you just care about art or an art lover, you can join us. There's lots of different kinds of membership. You can donate, but Artists of Palm Beach County, no spaces.org. Okay, thanks.
Thank you both for joining me, and thank you so much, Melissa, for really making us think about so many important things. And it was really joyful to talk with you both. One thing, Carol, I really enjoyed hearing, I don't know if I'm gonna have to cut it out because it was our pre-discussion, but you, with your Victorian tea fundraising program, that sounded very fascinating. That was great. And Melissa, you've done great work in the community. You really have, I think that we can all take a lesson and inspiration from you, from both of you, and thank you both. And I will share this with everyone else who was not able to join us in person. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having this platform, for being able to share. I really appreciate it.
It was very inspirational for me.
Yes.
So thank you.
Yeah. All right. Good luck to you both in your pursuits and in impacting our community. You're doing great work. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.